It was a great fall mushroom season, and it's almost always a good season for honey mushrooms. This is simple sauteed honey mushrooms and their stems. So you really need to find big, thick honey mushrooms for this, but it's totally worth it. They can be a little tricky. First things first, honey mushrooms must be well cooked. You want to aim for about 15 minutes of cooking. We're not going to serve them to the general public. If you're serving them to family or friends and it's new to them, go for 1 ounce portions. That being said, I've had a lot more problems with morels and lobster mushrooms than I have had with honey mushrooms. I've never had anyone get sick that I've served honey mushrooms to. Uh, they're not something to be scared of. You just want to respect the mushroom and respect their nature. Make sure that you're cooking them thoroughly. But you're probably not going to be bringing them to any Mycological Society potlucks. You can see I'm just trimming the mushroom stems up a little bit, and then we're going to trim the stems from the cap. And this is a little trick from David Aurora. We're just going to peel the stems with a vegetable peeler. And you don't necessarily need a vegetable peeler, as I'll show you with some really nice large ones in a second here. And it doesn't have to be an exact science. You can see it's kind of like an eggplant, like I'm just trying to get most of the skin off of the stem. And that's going to make it so the stems cook up really nice and tender. Okay, now with these, look at these ones. These were basically like perfect specimens. These things are as thick as my thumb. And with these, I don't even need a peeler. You can just peel them like string cheese if you want. Super easy, and you're going to basically double your yield there. Okay, so if you have smaller mushrooms that have longer stems, don't cook them without peeling. They're going to be too chewy. The stems tend to dry out because they have to be, cooked for a reasonably long time. Don't recommend that. The other thing is honeys with open caps. So more terrestrial honeys that are not growing in dense, thick clusters. If the caps are open, I'm not going to cook these ones like this. They just don't really cook up that well. A lot of times they have a little too much water in them. I don't recommend that. Save those ones for soup. With our nice honey mushrooms here, we're going to trim the caps up. If they're large, I'll cut them into quarters. If they're smaller, I'll cut them in half. And with the stems, we're just going to cut those into kind of 1-inch pieces or something around there. You can put them into a dry pan, and once a little bit of liquid is evaporated, then I'll add a little bit of oil. A non-stick pan is really great here. And then we're just going to go low and slow here. Medium to medium-high heat, cooking slowly, and you can start a timer for 15 minutes if it helps you remember. I put a kind of a crushed clove of garlic in there. Lots of different ways that you can jazz this up. Fresh mint, basil, a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes, minced garlic at the end, some shallots, tarragon, a sprig of rosemary, sprigs of thyme. I think fresh mint and a little crushed red pepper flake and a little minced garlic at the end is probably my favorite. Once the water is evaporated, then we're going to season them with a little pinch of salt. Double check the seasoning, make sure they taste good to us. And then we can go ahead and add some herbs and finish it up. This is a really good way to kind of like batch cook your honeys. You can cook them like this and cook a couple batches. You can do larger batches and put them in the freezer. If they're sauteed like this, they're not going to thicken a soup. It kind of denatures the mucilage. So that's an interesting thing to know. Just a really simple, kind of quick and dirty example of how to use honeys when they have really large, thick stems with little to no bug damage. So next time you find a nice, perfect cluster, give that one a shot. The full recipe is on my website. Thanks for watching.